Welcome back, everyone. Our second episode of The Breakdown with Greg Williams and Brian Marin of Arcadia Cognerati. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Doc. It's great to be on the show.
I can't wait to see this. You guys sent me this video. I'm really excited to see what your breakdown is here. So let's get cracking. Let's see what this is all about. Or do you guys want to give a little backstory? Should we just show the video first?
Why don't we start with the video, and we can break it down afterward.
Let's do it.
Yikes.
Seriously.
That's how you know you're going to have a bad day. For anybody that's watching right now, this, the snow, that might be a sign, but I'll tell you right now, somebody with a little mini AK waving, that's not good. I think an important thing, Doc, is while we're watching this, the entire episode you're seeing, there's going to be one with a better camera angle. The entire episode is 36 seconds from flash to bang. So that'll come up very importantly in just a minute here.
And there we go. It should flip over as they're out of there. So we should be able to basically kind of see the same thing again, just from a different perspective when it shows up and flips over to that next camera here in a second. You can see the guard now kind of closing up. So here it is again. You see the same vehicle on the right. She comes up with the cash or valuables or whatever they're loading into the truck. Does their usual routine. As soon as that door starts to open, yeah, they're coming out. All right, you can see that the one is kind of keeping an eye on her while the other two kind of hop in there and grab everything. So I think maybe, Greg, we go right back to the beginning to the setup? I would just say click it at the beginning and we'll kind of take it from there. Very
beginning. And if you can stop it right there, Doc. And can you go even before that?
Right before they even get out.
Yep. So the first thing that draws my attention, Brian, is that I noticed that the vehicle is hastily backed in. I can actually see the tire wipes from the front left tire, and they're pointing towards the direction of the gold color SUV across the parking lot, sort of at the top of the screen. I also noticed that it's parked closer to the white line, which means that they backed in from right to left. The other thing that I noticed, Brian, that you might notice as well, the vehicle's running and the rear left door is slightly ajar. Okay. If you add to that you've got the darkened windows in a parking lot near a Brinks truck, for the love of God, that's where everybody should have stopped and said, this is a shit sandwich, and hand me a piece of bread. Do you see the same things, Brian?
Yeah, and that's the initial thing, pulling into a parking lot like this. One, you see a Brinks truck, automatically I go up to that next level of alert. Why? Because, okay, there's a potential robbery somewhere. Anytime there's a Brinks truck or guard truck sitting anywhere, it's just another possibility. So then you start looking at all the vehicles in the parking lot. Typical human behavior is what? We pull in, nose first, as close to the place that we're going to as humanly possible, because all human beings are lazy. Not a lot of people do back in, so sometimes you'll see people backing in, like law enforcement, military guys, people who want to be situationally aware. I think it's always tell people to back in just because for safety reasons you always rather pull out into traffic versus backing into traffic. Sometimes you'll see like someone with a nicer vehicle that wants to take up 2 spaces so that no one dings them on the door. You get stuff like that. But typical behavior. So already I've just gone from however many dozen vehicles there are in this parking lot to just a couple right here that I need to pay attention to. And then just like you addressed, well, that looks hastily backed in because they didn't back in all the way and they're kind of hugging the one line. And you've already got that tire, those front tires are already starting to point to, which we later found out was the direction of travel out of there. We've seen things like that before. That's an autonomic kind of function of when you're set up, you will sometimes turn that steering wheel to the point or area where you're going to be going to. Or Greg, we even saw that stuff with a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device in Iraq.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Carlos, when we were on foot outside the wire looking for bombs to make sure that our coalition partner citizens and American forces were safe, one of the things is you can imagine the same thing occurs, and I'm sure you saw it in your career, where a DUI is driving and all of a sudden they see the check lane and they see the lights and they become fixated on it. And what they don't understand is that they're orienting the steering wheel towards them and they end up crashing into the actual police car that's doing a DUI stop, or the construction workers that are removing debris. Well, the same thing with them placing an IED. They're continuously looking over their shoulder, so when they pull it and park it, the wheels are actually turned in a direction that's suspicious because they're looking at where the kill zone is and they're thinking, projecting forward on what they want to happen. Here you see that same kind of thing happening, and I'll go as far, I know nothing about this case, but I do know that I've seen the video now probably 15 times today. And the one thing that strikes me as odd is that the vehicle that's silver one that's backed in next to this SUV, the suspicious SUV, that's probably a business owner that works right there. He probably steps out to the left of him is the big handicap offload, unload ramp. He's probably parked like that forever. But every other vehicle except the suspicious vehicle is parked nose first. And even when we change camera angles to the other part of the parking lot, we see that's true. So if you are in a profession where you carry a gun for a living, and that means a lot of people, Carlos, because you got to think that there's private carry now. People carry their weapons legally a lot with them. Then that means that you have to have an enhanced level of situational awareness. This female went so far as to put emergency flashers on, so everybody saw that, hey, this big vehicle is parked here so nobody hit it. Yet she didn't pay any attention to this hastily parked, recently acquired vehicle. How can I say that? Because if you take a look in front of the silver vehicle, there's no tire wipes. You take a look in front of the SUV, you have tire wipes that haven't evaporated yet. And even in cold weather, even around zero, that water is going to quickly evaporate. It's going to turn from water to ice, depending on the temperature, or it's going to evaporate completely. So this vehicle sitting there running should have been her first concern before she ever left the bank. So if we can go a little bit further,
yeah, we'll
please.
go a little bit further, yeah.
And if we stop right there, the one thing that you see is the driver with the hoodie, okay? Not only does he have a handgun, but he's got gloves on, just like the rest of them do, but he's also got a number of flex cuffs linked together in a figure eight and thrown over his left hand. Okay, now I don't know nothing, but as a copper for 27 years, I will tell you the speed with which they exited that vehicle. They had rehearsed this. This is a coordinated move. Each one knew their role. Two with handguns, one with a mid-size semi-automatic rifle, a AK variant, and every single one of them immediately goes by her, and they go by the hand truck, and two hit the vehicle while the guy with the long gun goes in sides to her. Brian?
And what Greg is talking about is there's a level of organization with this crew. Okay, so organization is important to understand. We use the terms organization and sophistication a lot, but a lot of times I hear those words kind of used incorrectly, right? So someone will say, hey, this is a highly sophisticated attack. Dude, no, it's not. They might have stolen that car. They used plastic flex cuffs and they bought ripped guns from someone down the street. That's a low level of sophistication. They didn't have, some type of long range camera surveillance, drones or something. They weren't using satellites to carry out this attack, right? But just like Greg showed, they were highly organized. That's important to understand. Someone with a high level of organization and a low level of sophistication, that's a dangerous, cunning enemy, right? Because they planned, they rehearsed, they knew exactly what they were going to do, and then they stuck to their roles, right, when that occurred. I could even tell from there, they likely had a plan. Hey, if we take contact, we're going to do this. If this occurs, drop that, we're going to grab this. Hey, we're only concerned about these size bags. That's a level of organization that maybe even this isn't their first time attempting something like this.
And I will tell you, I would go a step further, Brian, and I think you're spot on. Carlos, I will tell you this. The chances, first of all, there are tens of thousands of armed robberies that occur in the United States every year. Maybe 10 armored truck robberies. When this happened in October of last year, okay, there were 3 armored truck robberies in October. Now, if you were just playing statistics, if you were just betting, over-the-counter betting on something, and you were to do the most basic amount of research, that would have told Brinks and any other armored car people, hey, listen, better have a driver inside, better have, some better optics on the situation, right? Increase situational awareness. We don't see any of that here, because these 3 are able to overtake her. We also have the partner of the high level of organization and the low level of sophistication is access. Now, these guys don't shoot it out. They're not a shooting crew. What they do is they wait for her, the female security guard, to unlock and open the door.
Yep.
That means somebody inside information. Somebody knew when they were going to go, which bank they were going to hit, and that her policy would be to come out, set down the hand truck, and unlock the door. That gave them their chance, and as soon as they saw that, you see they hit it. They hit it like I would suspect this isn't their first time.
Yeah, could you go play it forward to that part, Carlos, where they show the other angle on that? If you just want to kind of slide that forward, but right where she goes up to unlock it, when they have it on the other angle, you'll see they wait until she actually right here and hit play. Is what'll happen is you'll wait till she sets it down. They're standing by in the vehicle. Boom! As soon as she hits that door opens, okay, they see that it's open and they immediately come. I mean, they waited for that exact second, like Greg said. She turned and immediately put her hands up and started going around the door over there.
Now, if you pause it for a second, here's my thing. I would say, listen, I'm not going to cast aspersions on anybody, and specifically not the guard here. But if the guard is carrying a gun, that's what the guy on the left keeps trying to reach around. I don't know that to be a fact. But if you'll watch the guy, just focus on the guy on the left-hand side. He's not applying flex cuffs to her. He hasn't pistol whipped her. He's doing a two-hand hold, and then he continues to do something with his right hand. So at first I thought, well, maybe, he's trying to apply the flex cuffs, but he doesn't have them. He has them in his left hand. So what it appears that he's doing is reaching around and trying to get her weapon out of her holster, and she likely has a security holster, and he just can't do the algorithm there. He can't do the math, right? So the idea was that he could have easily executed her. He could have beat her down, right? That's not happening. But if you back up just a little bit to when she opens the door, just move to the left a little bit and then hit play until I say stop. There's something interesting I just saw, Brian, and see if you see it. Right there's mine. Okay? And freeze. Okay? That's called orientation. What she did is in a fraction of a second saw a threat and overreacted to the threat. Now, I don't know if there's sound with this video, but I'd be on the phone with the local cops and the local sheriffs and everybody else and saying, go back to her interview. Because if they yelled, don't effing move, now I could see that high level of organization switch to, oh my gosh, orientation, I'm afraid, and she starts throwing her hands up and covering up. There's no way that a normal human being is going to see those weapons that quickly in that crowded parking lot when you're caught on surprise. It's highly unlikely. I can't say there's no way because there's probably somebody at the top of their game that would. But go back just a little and just watch again her reaction time. I would say to me, highly suspicious. Watch this.
Yeah, I thought it was peculiar. It almost made me feel like she was in on it for some reason.
Keep going a little farther back.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't want to. Just watch her, Carlos. Watch what she does. Watch her head, eyes, and shoulder. How did she know? Because two of the guys are completely obscured by the silver car.
Pause again.
You know what I'm saying?
So here's the thing: to go with your kind of startle response that people talk about when you see a non-standard observation. Usually, what Greg is talking about is it's going to take her a second to understand and see that these guys are getting out of vehicle with guns and robbing her, even though it's fast. Denial. But that denial sets in. At no point did she do that. She looked, made contact, turned slowly, was putting her hands up and turned away, right, and didn't jump, didn't dive under the vehicle, didn't make anything. She just slowly came around.
She's on her knees facing away before they ever get to the vehicle. Now listen, I have a survival response like no other. If you're going to shoot or stab me, it's going to be in my vast ass, okay? Because I'm going to be running away from a situation. I'm not going to stand and fight. Now, and I also would not encourage her to have fought against these odds. Clearly not. Yeah. But I will tell you what, the first reaction normally is this a joke? Am I being gagged? Okay. Now, had she been warned that there was other robberies, that's the counter. Somebody's going to counter me and go, well, Greg, she was warned that there were 2 other robberies just that week. Then why did she go alone? Why did she unlock the vehicle without looking at the parking lot? So here's a balancing act. Can I prove that she was in on it? No, because you know what? Stupidity and being inept look a lot like an insider threat. Am I saying that she was stupid and inept? I'm saying, yeah, she missed cues that in her profession could have cost her life, or the bank managers, or some civilian that's walking out there with their kid, you know what I'm saying, to get into another vehicle. And now here you got this vehicle that's fleeing or shots being fired. I'll tell you right now that 7.62 flinging around out of that AK is going to do a lot of damage, and not to that truck. That truck is built to withstand a zombie apocalypse. So those bullets are going to be ricking off of that truck and going into the parking lot, and that's an unsafe situation. But I'm telling you, she must have nerves of steel for being able to see that quick. And then when she goes over, she never reaches for the gun. There's no time of negotiation. She doesn't stand at the door for any reason. So I'd love to hear the tape, because if they were calling out commands, that could account for some of it. Now, if you could go from just here and accelerate, I think there's another funny thing there, Carlos. They never touch anything on that cart. Cart's empty. Go right by it, and they're inside with an empty bag. How did he know that bag on that cart was going to be empty? How did he know to grab it and take it in the truck with him? If you watch that, to me, look, I don't want to play armchair quarterback here, but either these guys are firing on all cylinders and they got the luck of the Irish today, no problem, Aaron, or they knew that cart was empty. And watch how little time they spend inside the vehicle. 2 guys go in, and you can count it. 15 seconds later, 2 guys are coming out. And now look at the guy on the left. You see how he's patting her down there? And he's working? That's got to be something that he's looking for. These guys inside, it's about 12 seconds. First guy comes out. At 15, second guy comes out. They go straight to the Vic. They don't even look around. Why wouldn't they look around? Wouldn't you want to be looking for a cop? Wouldn't you want to be looking for a Confederate? They're not looking around because they know they're safe.
Plan.
They know they're safe. You're exactly right. What do you feel, Brian?
So that goes into exactly. So not just their actions walking up, but then you look at them leave. They had rehearsed that plan and didn't have to deviate from the plan.
Exactly.
They never looked for their buddy who was covering the guard, because they knew he was on there. They knew that she was covered, that he had it. Okay, look, it takes high-level military units to get to that level.
Yes.
Meaning it takes them a long time before guys stop. You have to practice not looking at each other when you talk to each other while you're holding security, right? So you're already at that next level to do that and have that plan and just trust your buddy and know that he's doing his job. Because what do most people do that don't have a lot of training? They're looking around. They want to know what you're doing. They want to see what's happening here. Nope, they were completely mission focused on what they had to do. It just goes into their rehearsal. So I think that's all of those indicators there too. And if you actually want to go back and from the other angle, watch as they leave the parking lot. So slide back to once they get in the vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah, so coming, about right there, they hop in, waiting for the last guy to get in. He's moving fast, in, puts the car in gear, starts to go, right? Hits the gas a little bit, and then takes it easy for a second. So they didn't peel away and go, they didn't swing the back end around. They didn't make that turn. Look, they're still going. You can still see it, right? They didn't make the turn real fast. What does that mean? That's that level of organization. They got in there, they're amped up, and immediately said, all right, cool down, hang on, slow it down. We're just going to drive away. All right, That's again to that level of organization. That speaks to their experience and what they were doing in here.
So if you back it up just a little bit, Carlos, and I hate to make you do that. We call that Mr. Dale when we pick somebody in a class and say, hey, you got to handle the video, right? So go ahead and play the vid and pause it almost immediately here. Where's the beginning in the second one there? When they peel away, Brian. How far does he have to go to the right for that one? When the car pulls away.
The car pulls away?
This angle
this angle just before the car pulls away.
Okay, that's going to be a
right
little further.
And sorry about that. I forget the bar on the bottom goes to the second. Okay, so right here, okay, they're going to get into the car. Now I'm going to ask the viewers to take a look at our female. Two questions come to mind, Carlos. Have you ever been in an armored truck in the back?
No, I've only seen it. Yeah.
So
I was thinking too.
The most mysterious I've ever been in my entire life was when I was in a Hummer and then later in an MRAP, and there were bombs going off and dangerous situation, and all of a sudden I figured out I had no idea how to use two things: the seatbelt, because I had no idea how to take it off, and open that gosh damn door, because the door handle was behind me and upside down and backwards, and I was scared. Okay, I would never be able to figure out the inside of that truck and where the money was stored in that short a time. So there's got to be some kind of insider knowledge. And then when you watch her actions after they pull away, and I don't know where that'll be on the screen, but go ahead and try to find that for a second. And when you see her, it'll probably switch, sadly.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see it here too. I think she's just looking at the car going away.
Right. Yeah. Let's get to that point. Right here, and be ready to stop.
Yeah, 'cause she comes over towards the door. Where are you?
And she's coming. And let's pause it right there for a second. Okay. Let's close the door after all the money's taken. Okay. And I would suspect this is the first time she's had 3 males with guns robbing her at point blank range. So what would you do at that point? I'd be running back inside that bank. Do you see? I'd be on my cell phone, even if I wasn't allowed to carry a cell phone. I'd be trying to get the plate on that vehicle or kneeling down with my weapon drawn to make sure that there's not a Confederate somewhere in the parking lot looking out for them. A cover car for the suspect. She does none of that. Now go ahead and play. Go ahead and hit play for a second. Let's see what she does next. Okay? You only saw it for a few seconds, but tell me, how would you feel? You're out there. You've just got robbed. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You're in this parking lot alone. What would your actions be? And I think that's the baseline. Baseline, anomaly, and decision. So my baseline to my anomaly says, if I measure everybody else in that situation, what would I get? And the standard responses are, I would get people that were vegetable. They wouldn't be able to do a damn thing from that point forward. And when I interviewed them, they'd go beat, dot, boat. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't put a sentence together. Or they would be, okay, there was 2 white guys and there was a black guy. And then the gun looked like an AK because I saw it from... We get none of that with her. She kind of casually looks to her right hand and just closes the door and locks it. I don't know, Brian, did that feel as suspicious to you?
Yeah, it was just her behavior again. It's her behavior throughout this situation is unlike any other video or things I've seen in a similar situation, right? You have a couple responses where some people want to fight, some people want to flee. There's some confusion, there's denial. They're not really good. This one, it's looked like she was going along the whole time, or there was none of that behavior that you typically see, which was odd. But again, we're got a couple minutes of video here. We're trying to pick apart and get into some detail about.
Well, and I would tell you this too. I would say there's so much for the FBI to work on this. There's so much visible evidence. There's so many bits of points where I could get transfer evidence out of it. I think to go to the point that this is an experienced veteran crew that's done it before. The guy that was holding the weapon at the end, making sure it was away from his body, didn't muzzle wash his friends, didn't lose his focus the entire time he was getting in the sled. That shows rehearsal. The fact that even on icy, wet roads, you can see that they didn't squeal the tires. They pulled out. They didn't want to draw undue attention to themselves. I would say to your viewers and listeners of all your shows, if they're watching this breakdown of this video, listen, you see that Brinks truck in a parking lot, go somewhere else for a few minutes. Go get a coffee next door, okay? Don't park there. And if you come in and you see some of those vehicles are occupied, I don't care what time of year it is, it's probably not a good day for you. Go somewhere else. And I would say to the Brinks truck or any other driver, if you haven't been trained on elevating your situational awareness and increasing the acumen with which you make decisions, if a vehicle is sitting somewhere near you idling and that mission focus or those predatory looks are going, you're probably going to get robbed. She could have seen that, Brian, from inside. Carlos, she could have made a call from inside and de-escalated this situation well before it ever occurred. And as a common citizen, I would be that on that increased level as soon as I saw the bank truck.
And that was one of the weird things about it too. I was noticing she seemed much calmer than the robbers themselves. They were looking a lot more nervous than she was. And she responded like she's been robbed before, because she just went immediately into the position. I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. It almost felt like as well as her last day. Like, you know what? You want the money? You can have the money. I'm out of here tonight. I'm getting a new career anyway.
You're exactly right. And even the fact of turning away, like most people are so fixated on what's happening in front of them that it's denial. I think this is a prank. What's going on? And you almost have to shove them and go, no, this is a real gun there. Yahtzee, pay attention. And the thing is, unless they were giving concise commands, look away, don't look at me, kneel down. It's funny that she did the things that she did. She seems much more well-rehearsed. And it had nothing to do with being a woman, has nothing to do with being a security guard. Those are all noble professions and great things. But how is it that she's got more experience in how to give up than how to pay attention and not get robbed in the first place? I just think that's an odd factoid to me.
Yeah, and just in general, like we always started at that beginning frame of this thing, and that's why I always say going into a parking lot, how do you add value to your observations? How do you know when it's reaching something or when something is weird? And you just can break it down just like we did. Okay, well, a vehicle backed in a parking space. doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it just means, hey, that person's a little bit more aware than everyone else who parked that day. Okay, then you go to, a vehicle backed into a parking stop hastily with someone with the vehicle running. Okay, well, maybe that person just got there or they're just about to leave. Okay, now it's sitting there, vehicle running, hastily parked with 3 occupants in it.
Yep.
All males with hoodies and this. Okay, well, there's a little bit of weather, but that's a little odd. Maybe they're just coming and going. Okay, add that again now, but now you're parked right next to a Brinks truck that's doing delivery. It doesn't take much then to go, I see what's likely going to occur here. I should probably leave, call 911, do whatever I need to do in that situation. So
exactly.
Each one of those observations on its own is nothing. But when you add it all together, given the context of the situation, they become extremely relevant.
Yeah, and this video is available on your website and online. And Carlos, I don't know in your life, because you've seen some bizarre stuff, brother, but I don't know how many times you've seen somebody walk around with an armful of flex cuffs. And the driver had, from his left wrist to his left elbow, a bunch of them hanging. I mean, clearly he knew what he was doing. He was ready to go, but he was carrying them out of the vehicle, which means that he likely had put them on his arm some point in the vehicle. So 3 bigger humans with flex cuffs in a vehicle that's running, that's an observation you're likely to make when you're walking through the parking lot. And certainly when you see them come out, let's say that you're across the street and maybe it's a parking lot for a hotel. You see somebody running around with flex cuffs, that's 9-1, and have your finger hovering over that 1.
Yeah.
Be ready to hit it, because clearly you're observing something that's not normal. So anytime that you see a novel view like that, person, 3 people even running in tandem towards that truck, even if you didn't see the weapons, you should already be on 911. That's not a normal observation. That's not something you see every day, and therefore it's noteworthy. It's an incongruent signal based on the environment of this parking lot, and incongruency is always where the danger hides. I think it's highly suspicious, Doc, that you found some information on this. What did you come up with when you were looking it up?
Well, we found out that she was let go because of not following protocol. I'm trying to look at 2 or 3 different articles, folks. But what happened is they let her go because they said she didn't follow protocol, but they didn't really mention what the protocol was that she violated. They said that she would only, says here, just then when she thought things couldn't get worse, she was terminated from her job. She would only say she was fired on a technicality, is what she's saying.
Yeah. I think that's suspicious. Listen, you don't normally get fired for doing a good job. Now you've got a lot of viewers and a lot of readers, and somebody out there might know more than we do. But I can see that the company doesn't have to justify why they fired her, but they do in some manner to support the legal basis and not get sued or countersued, for some sort of frivolous firing. And so here, I'll tell you, I would not say it's common that you get fired from a 7-Eleven or a grocery store or any other place for being the victim of an armed robbery. So here there had to be some compelling argument above and beyond that she did something or she failed to do something. Wouldn't that be an accurate statement, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, without knowing what the Brinks company policies are in the event of an armed, robbery, I don't know what that is. But I think, again, in general, these policies are in place. They have insurance. That stuff's insured. I don't think they want their employees, their guards, shooting it out in a parking lot in a public place. I'm assuming that's not what they teach or train to do, because that would obviously now you're opening yourself up to all kinds of other risk and other, and liability for that company. I'm assuming they do have that policy. Hey, when this occurs, yeah, you are supposed to give up the cheese. So again, she didn't. They're like Greg is saying, when those organizations do fire people, it's hard to fire people sometimes if there isn't good cause, because you're opening yourself up to a lawsuit, especially a company as large as Brinks. They're a huge international company. So I think that there must have been good cause for their legal team to say, no, let's go ahead and get rid of this one. So we don't know what that is. I'm sure you could probably maybe find that out somewhere. I doubt it, though. If it's handled internally at a company, it's not like a police investigation that goes to court. And the fact that maybe she isn't suing means that she doesn't have a case.
And I would say, listen, nobody wants to turn a robbery into a homicide. Nobody.
Yeah.
Not even the people committing it. I would assume that if this crime remains unsolved, which I don't know, or you have information on this or the suspects, or this matches something you have seen, call your local FBI office. That's what they're there for. They ain't got a lot going on today anyway. So do me a favor, give them a call, tell them, hey, this is what I'm seeing. That's a joke for all my Fed friends. Fed. And they love me anyway. But dial them up and tell them, hey, listen, I saw this suspicious activity. I'm not sure what it means, but it mimics something that I saw on the Dr. Carlos Crime Network, or it's an incongruent signal, and I'm just afraid that they may have been staging or planning a robbery. Because these guys, they rehearsed it. These guys, they planned it. They weren't making any mistakes on the ground.
Awesome stuff, gentlemen. Awesome stuff like always. Again, folks, catch the breakdown. You can check out the playlist. You're going to have all the episodes listed there. This is episode 2 of the breakdown. So make sure you check out the playlist for all those. And to support us, hit that like button, share and subscribe, leave a comment. Some of you are probably not going to agree. We want to hear those too. And put out your arguments as well as those who do agree. Thanks again. Awesome stuff, guys.
Thanks, Doc. We always appreciate this venue.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.